Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Becoming Stacy. So I'm really excited because this is my very first video and audio recording. So my goal is to show up on YouTube. And when I had the She Wakes Up podcast, this was something that I always wanted to do, but never actually got around to doing it. So here I am implementing the audio and video format. So if you don't follow me on YouTube, check it out at Becoming Stacy and you can see the video version. Today's episode, I wanted to talk about the top 5 books that really had an impact in my life and my self-development because that is a huge part of who I am. And in the last decade or so, really just going on this journey of discovering who I am and learning to be comfortable enough to show up as I am and what even that looked like, because who really are we? At the end of the day when we look back and it's like we've had this whole life and it isn't until midlife when we start to reflect on those things and we're like, wait a minute, are these thoughts and beliefs and values actually mine, or are they just, a compilation of everybody else's that has kind of conditioned me along these years? So I've had a lot of good books that I've read, and these 5 that I'm going to talk about today have significantly impacted my life. And it's always funny how things happen, whether it's a book that you stumble on, or a person that you run into unexpectedly, or a job opportunity that comes your way. It always seems to happen, one, when you least expect it, but two, in the season of that you needed it. Because for me, if these books would have showed up at my doorstep 10, 15 years ago, I probably wouldn't have even picked them up, to be honest with you. But yet they found me at a place that I needed to read them the most. And that's when I realized like the relevance of just the universe. And when you ask for something, you put the energy out there, it really does come back to you. And so it's kind of what happened with these books. So I want to start off with the Book of Awakening, and this is the book that I read last year. So this book by Mark Nepo, and if you see the video version, you can see examples of what these look like. But this book is a daily read. So there is a entry for every single day of the week and the month, and it goes through 365 days. So I went through and just underlined and dog-eared the crap out of this book. A lot of these books that I've read, I've done that with, and just let you know that I was never that person. I was actually against writing in my books and dog-earing pages. I thought that that was just disrespect to the book, but now it is something that I really cherish because it allows me to go back and reference those, because when I do, I'm in a different place in my life. And so it's just, the perspective is different and it's really cool, especially if I want to, share a post or create a quote or something. And it's just something that I need to reference. I have it marked, something that was really important that spoke to me in the moment. So the Book of Awakening is just a soulful book. It really allows you to think deep about yourself. There is a quote every single day, and then a passage that relates to the quote, and then some prompts for you to take action and either meditate, sit with, journal, recite, whatever it is that you feel called to do. And I didn't do all of these things. It was just something that whatever spoke to me, I went with. So just knowing that you don't have to do everything in a formal manner. If you just want to read the book and go through it day by day, great. If you want to implement the journal prompts, awesome. If you want to dog ear and underline and reflect back, great. Whatever you want to do, but this book is amazing. It was one of those things, like I said, I started it January 1 and read every page through and through until the end of the year. So the Book of Awakening is number 1. Number 2, I don't have with me, I think I lent it out to somebody, but I do have another book written by this author. So the book that I want to talk about is The Secret, and you can see the logo. And if you are on, I think it was Gaia, maybe even Netflix had a special about The Secret. This book is actually the magic that I'm referencing in the video, but the book that I want to talk to you about that was life-changing for me was The Secret, and it was the book before this one. And it just talks all about law of attraction and the universe and how, we all vibrate at this energy level. And when we are vibrating at a lower frequency, we are usually thinking negatively, we are also attracting negative things. And that's where you get into the slump of feeling like, woe is me. Life is always so shitty. Why do all the bad things happen to me? And it's just because it's hard to get out of that funky mindset of life sucks. And The Secret opened up my eyes to what is possible with how we can really train our brain to think differently and how much power we really have using our minds, and that we have this brain body connection. And I know it's something that is talked about a lot, but really stopping to think about the reality of how powerful the mind is and how healing the mind can be when we actually put it to work, and how it's constantly making connections and constantly wanting to be challenged and learn things. And so The Secret talks a lot about the law of attraction and how you can manifest things, how you can really put your brain to work. And it doesn't have to be so woo woo if you're not into that. It took me a minute to open up to that, but once I did, I took it to my level of comfortability, right? Just like with the Book of Awakening, I didn't necessarily do all the meditations and journal prompts and things like that. I took what I wanted and what I needed, and that was great for me. And maybe next time when I reread it, it'll be different. Same thing with The Secret and the law of attraction and manifesting. I took it to a level that I felt comfortable with. I now am really big into doing the moon rituals and making moon water, and just the idea, the thought of having a symbol, to kind of relate things to, and just a symbol from the universe saying like you're on the right path, right? Just like the gentle nudge and reminder that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. You are aligned with what your goals are and where you're headed, because on a day-to-day basis, sometimes it can feel really discouraging when things don't line up. So The Secret digs into that, has a lot of different practices, a lot of different ways of thinking and changing your perspective on what is really truly possible when you put your mind to it. So that's The Secret. And then if you want to go on to The Magic, it's another kind of daily read where it talks even more about building abundance and how that you can create your own abundance. The next book is like my bedside Bible. I read this book before it became all the hype, and then I realized why it blew up the way that it did as I was reading it, is because it is just spoken so well. It's just the truth. It is all the things that I was feeling during this season of my life. And the book is Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I've read a couple of her other books, and she really just story tells her life and her situation and what she's going through. And she does this in this book, but this book is literally your permission slip to just become that untamed wild beast that we have caged for so long, and opening up to your authenticity. In this podcast, we're going to talk so much about that and what that looks like, because it is truly the key to helping you get to a place in your life that you feel more joy, more fulfillment in what you're doing. It gives you reason to show up. It gives you reason to stay motivated and stay on the path to what it is that you're doing. And being in that alignment without apologizing for being on the path that is meant for you. And this book just is a beautiful guide and example. She talks about, her personal experience with this, and just saying like, it's okay. It's okay to just show up as you are, to be liberated emotionally, spiritually, and physically, to just be who you are and not have to worry about all the titles and the things that we carry with us, and wearing all the hats. That we can just be and have everything that we need within ourselves. And that builds us up, lays that beautiful foundation to be able to give back and build with other people too. Friends, family members, and people like that. So Untamed, this is one, like if you can see on this video, like you probably can't because the lighting, but all the dog ears, all the underlines, it's just crazy. This is something that I reference all the time. Get you a copy. This is something I'm not lending out. This is mine. I need it. The next one that I want to talk about is called Build an Empire by Elena Cardone. And if you're not familiar with Elena Cardone or Grant Cardone, Grant is a real estate investor. He actually started in used car sales and came up with this strategy of being able to sell with ease. And then he took his strategies that he was very successful in used car sales and built an empire off of real estate investing. And now him and his wife, who has championed him through his venture, and their two daughters, are just building wealth together and helping to teach other people how to do the same. At first, they kind of came off as very boasty with their accomplishments, but then as I read this book and learned more about their story, they really did build themselves from the ground up, which I find to be very, what's the word? Just more, I appreciate it more because I know what it takes to put in the hard work to have something when you come from nothing, right? And so she talks about her marriage and how, what it takes to be somebody's champion, and how she actually didn't even want to be with Grant in the beginning, but he continued to pursue her and kind of won her over. And now they just have built this beautiful life together. But she talks about the hard things. She talks about really what it takes to get started, because I feel like that's where so many of us feel stuck, is like, okay, I see where I want to go, but what does that look like for me now? Like, what are even the first steps that I take to even think about getting there, right? And so she writes about all those things, and she's just talking about how, she always had this go-getter mindset, but never necessarily the recipe to put it in place. And she talks about everything that because when they went all in the beginning, it was something that they hit a brick wall and they were going to give up. And then they were like, no, this is it. Like, we're all in. We have to do this because we decided together that we were going to do this. And then that's when it blew up, right? Like, I talk a lot about when you hit resistance or you hit a place of discomfort, it is life challenging you and saying you're about to hit a breakthrough. You're about to go through change, because change is very uncomfortable. Resistance is going to push you back and want you to halt whatever it is that you're trying to pursue, when in fact it is us getting over that is going to be the breaking point that we need, the change that we really need to make that big difference and to make that leap into where we're headed. It's like the picture of the miner in the mine, and there's a top picture and a bottom picture, and the top picture is the guy, and he's down in the tunnel, and he's got his pickaxe, and he's chiseling away to try to find the treasure, and he stops, he turns around, he hits resistance, he's tired, he just is over it. He's like, how long do I have to keep going, if ever am I going to find this treasure, right? And then the bottom picture is a guy, same thing, with a pickaxe. He keeps going, and he's like one layer of stone away from finding the treasure, where he decided to keep going through that resistance, where the guy above him stopped when he was just one layer away from finding what he was going for. So, using that as an example of what is possible, and, the grit that it takes to get there, but also knowing how to start is important, and also reminding yourself of why you got started in the first place to help keep you going. And so this is really good if you are in a relationship and you want to build together, you want to build that empire together. You have big goals, and you can't do it alone. You know that you want to do it, but you just don't know how. This is a really good inspirational book to read, and it's super easy. It's really well spaced out. The words are pretty big. So I read this in a week or two. So that is Build an Empire. And then lastly, guys, I've been on this. Brianna Wiest is the author that I'm going to rave about right now. And this book collection that I received was an Instagram splurge buy, and it was just so impulsive. I found it on my feed because, the algorithms just match you up with whatever you need. And I usually, like, this is probably the second thing that I've ever bought from an online ad like that, but I saw this book bundle and I read the titles, I Googled it and looked even more into the description, and I was sold. I was like, I don't care if it's $60. Send me the books. I'm going to read them. And I have, and I am, and I'm on her second book of the bundle. And the third one is kind of like the Book of Awakening, where it's one a day read for the year. So I'm going to actually start that next year, January 1, because I got it a few months into this year. So I wanted to start it fresh. I wanted to start it, but it gives me something to look forward to and know that I have another book that I can read every day for a year, which is something that I really enjoyed. But this book that I read, the first one that I picked up, is called The Mountain Is You. And you guys, this is the book. This is the book that is like everything that I have felt in my heart for so long about just stopping the self-sabotage and allowing yourself to truly just be you and to show up as you and to coexist, but your way, to show up your way. And it really just talks about how to be brave, how to get your power back, and how to just show up for you, and understanding that we think that there are so many things outside of us that we have to overcome that are limiting us. And that is true to an extent, but really, truly, it all starts with ourself. And that the biggest mountain, the most important mountain that we need to climb to get us to where we want to go is really us. And so when I saw this book, I think this was the selling point for me, but it's the last sentence of the description is just, in the end, it is not the mountain we master, but ourselves. And that's the key, is figuring out yourself so well that you don't have to question the reasons why you do what you do. You don't have to question how you show up or how you dress or who you say no to or who you say yes to or what books that you're called to read or what outfit you want to wear to work or how you speak or what venture you do, or if you quit your job because it's just like sucks the soul out of you and you just know that there's something more. Whatever you need to do for you, that's what's important. And this book is just talking about releasing the past, talks about our anxiety and mental health and really where that comes from, and gives a really good explanation, an honest explanation of like our anxiety is something that we actually have control over, and how we can gain our control and our power back to live with it alongside of it rather than it being a hindrance to us. You guys, this book is beautiful. How our brain is designed, when I talked about resistance and being uncomfortable, our brain is actually wired to live with challenges. And if I think this is something that I picked up in this book, but it was like, if you don't give your brain something to be challenged by, your environment, life is going to give you something to be challenged by. So why not pick something that is going to actually motivate you and propel you forward, right? Like you think about, for me, I'm big into working out and taking care of my health and wellness. And so, one of my biggest things is like, I have to work out 5-6 days a week for 30 to 45 minutes, and that gets exhausting. And there's days where I don't really feel like it, but then I remember where I'm going and why. And it's a challenge to push myself every day. It's a challenge to make my pre-workout and actually, get motivated to start. And then once I start, it's like I remembered why I got started. And then when I'm done, I remember how good it feels that I've accomplished that. And then weeks later, I remember that it's because of the progress that I'm seeing in myself, and recognizing that I can do those things, that I have to continue to bust through the discomfort to get me to a place of where I really want to go. But if I don't pass through that discomfort, I'm not going to get the end results that I really want. So this book talks a lot about that too, and how our brain actually is wired to do that, to push ourselves, but we resist it all the time. Achievements, our subconscious commitments, attachment to things that we really don't want for whatever reason, being somebody else's beliefs or value system, or, us trying to fit in, people pleasing. Get this book, The Mountain Is You. All right. That's all I need to say. Brianna Wiest, look her up to and check out her other books. I'm reading the other one right now. If you follow me on Instagram, it was on my reels last week. 101 essays that'll change the way you think, I think is what it's called. So I'm reading that one right now by her. But these are just 5 of the books that have really made a difference in my life and my self-development. I like reading other books too. I used to read fiction more when I was younger, but I've really just loved the learning and figuring out my own way of thinking through the words of others and the stories of other people that I can relate to, and being like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone in this. And this is how this person overcame this. And this is what worked for this person in this situation. And oh my gosh, I have the same idea of what success looks like. And this is the recipe that worked for this person. And just taking little nuggets from everything that I read and molding it into my own story. And the way that I show up for myself is just the goal. I love, if I could take all the books that I've read and write a book, and I think um, I might do that one day. I'm in the process right now of kind of developing my own book, but it's more poetry in my emotion and my life experience. But I really would love to compile all the perspectives that I have taken from all the things that I've read and really make my own version of, kind of what I just riffed to you right now is like, those are the things that I took away from these books, you guys. And this is what I want to do. I want to keep doing. I want to keep finding amazing titles and authors that I can resonate with. So if you have any, send them my way. Send me your list, because I am a sucker for used bookstores. I will be in there all day long. So if you have a suggestion or some book that changed you in some way, please, please, please share it with me. And I think the last thing that I want to leave you with is just like I'm giving back to these authors, giving them the credibility for the work that has really made a difference in my life in so many different ways. In order to help this podcast grow, if this is something that you have enjoyed and you're getting something from this, please share it and leave a review, because that is going to be the best, fastest way for this podcast to grow and get out there. And my goal, my message, my purpose is to just walk alongside other women in their journey and meeting them where they are and sharing things like this to help us all get to this place of where we're supposed to be. And even though we might not all be going to the same exact place, being on this shared path together and building one another up to encourage and support us getting to wherever that is. And yeah, so I would really appreciate that if you could do that for me. Please connect with me on social media, and I would love to message you back and just hear what's going on in your world. This is my way of sharing with you what's going on in mine. And I don't want this to be a one-sided relationship, because that kind of relationships suck. So appreciate you being here. And I really look forward to seeing you again next week. Again, check me out on YouTube. This is the first video, so let me know how it is. All right, I will talk to you soon. Bye.